Alright guys, going to attempt to give you a little quick video of the affordable pipe bender for the money. I have a Harbor Freight pipe bender, and it's a pipe bender. This is actually a tubing bender. Tubing bender is more for roll cages, which is what I have here, 1 5/8 chromoly. But yeah, the Harbor Freight bender will work. But don't expect to, it's not going to be anything that's going to work good for a roll cage. I wouldn't use it on a roll cage unless it's just some off-road buggy like my 1990 Toyota 4Runner I built. I put a roll cage in that and used it for the bends. It gives a little kink in the bends and stuff. I mean, it'll do, but if you're going to have a race car, I definitely wouldn't, it wouldn't pass any certification if you're using one of those Harbor Freight benders. Just not going to work. But yeah, this affordable bender, sure, it's twice the amount of the Harbor Freight deal. I think this is around 350 bucks, 380 bucks, something like that. But unless you're going to do it for a living, I would say this is a great bender to have in your shop. It works really well. There's a couple little things that I modified, and I'll talk about that. But just to start with, I've got a piece of chromoly here that I don't need to bend it, but I'm just going to show you where I start on a piece of roll cage. What I would do is I would take a what do you call this? A scouring pad, Brillo pad. It's not a Brillo pad. Anyway, it just takes the film off the mill scale off the tubing, and then there's a company here, Centurial Incorporated. I don't know if you can read that. Centurial, can't pronounce it. Anyway, they got some really cool tools to slip over the pipe for getting your coping just right. This pushes in and forms around whatever you need to do. It also comes with a laser. It's a really cool kit for building roll cages. So that'd be something that's really good to start with, and it's going to help you in using your pipe bender. That's one of the reasons I brought this up. So this is one of the tools I've got set up for 1 5/8, and basically you slip your marker in there, and I'm going to come back and mark this. Even though I'm not going to bend it, I would do this if I was going to bend it. This just gives you a reference point. Give you a straight line for your tubing. So if you're going to bend it or use some coping, and you've got to clock the copes to make it fit. This is a really good little tool. I just use a magnet on there to hold it in place for me. Make sure you got a clean floor. Anyway, put this up. So affordable pipe bender. So this is what I would start with before I do a bend. And I've already taken some stuff. So what I did with this pipe bender is it has a tendency to kick up on you. Still under view. Anyway, when you go to bending it, pumping up your jack to bend it, it's only got a 7-inch base, so it wants to kick up on you. So I added 2 feet of box iron, just put that in there, welded that on. Also, when you're using this thing, you're going to have a really difficult time sliding the pipe through. For starters, you want to go ahead and take you some WD-40 or something, put on this roller. And then also, since we're talking about that roller, what I did here is I put some spacers in here to keep this from moving around too much. I also put a spacer on this main piece here to tighten that up because it had too much slop in it. And what else did I do? Oh, also on this side, ideally when you're doing a bend, you're going to start your marks are. This should line up with that. So I just put a nail on there to give me a close measurement. In other words, that would be 10 degrees, 20, 25, 30. But honestly, I don't use that. I don't use that mark. What I use is a digital finder, digital angle finder. I'll show it to you. So what I use is one of these. I'll just take it and put it on there, slide my pipe through, set this on the pipe, make sure it's close to 0. If it's too far off, I'll hold the button and zero it out. And then once the pipe's in there, now what I do, your bending point doesn't start till this edge. But of course, you know, you're going to have some sticking out the other end depending on where you started. It's got to attach to something. So what I do when I lay my measurement out, let's say I need a 30-inch piece of tubing and then a 45. What I would do is I would measure this to 30 inches, put my mark, then I would come back and mark it at 1 inch because you've got a 1 inch, this block is 1 inch thick. So if I come back 1 inch, put me a mark and I just put me a V showing that that's where I'm gonna line it up with this edge. And I can slide this pipe through, line it up with that edge. And then also I've marked where the center of the die is. So what I do is I line this line up with the center of the die. That way if I've got a couple of bends on this piece of pipe, I can line it up the same and your bends aren't all out of whack when you finish. And ultimately, so I don't really use these marks, I just use my degree finder. I'll put that on the end and start making my bend, watch it. And typically what I found with 1 5/8 die, you're gonna have to go, let's say if you're gonna do a 45, you're gonna have to go, on a 45 I had to go 5 degrees over. I had to bend it all the way to a 50 degree because you have some spring back. And then once I release it and it springs back, I'll have that 45 degree angle. But what will happen is in this bender, when you release it and it springs back, and let's say it's at 41 degrees just sitting there, well, check your pipe, because what happens is it kicks up on the other end. So what you do is you add this measurement to that and it'll come out. So if this one's at 41 and I come over here and this is at 4 degrees, then I know I've got my 45 degree. You got a 45 degree bend. Also what I found for like a 45 degree bend, so if I need 30 inches sticking out the end, from 30 inches I'll mark it every inch and I'll put the numbers on there and I'll give myself at least 8 inches because it's going to take, to get back to a flat spot, it's going to take 8 inches. So I allow for that. And then also what I did is, so that gives you the length of bend you need for the radius, but also the height of the bend, because by the time you bend it, you're going to another part, you're going to want to know what it is from the start to the outside edge for clearance, like up in a roll cage. And so what I found is to the outside of the tubing is 9 5/8 inches from the beginning of your bend to the outside of the tubing, which you know, basically it'd be 8 inches from the end to the center line, but 1 5/8. Would that be 8? No, that's not right. But anyway, yeah. So the main and the important measurement would be to the outside of your tubing, because that's going to give you your clearance, help you with your clearance, finding your clearance. So anyway, found that that's 9 5/8 from the beginning to the outside of the tubing. But as far as your measurements, if you mark 8 inches, you're gonna, it'll start from this edge. I come back 1 inch. It'll start from this edge. 8 inches will give you plenty of room for a 45 degree bend, and then you can just adjust it from there. But yeah, you're gonna have some spring back, and it's gonna be hard to get out if you don't pull this off. So what I do is I couldn't get mine, my pipe in the first time, even pushing this thing back. You know, I seen one guy, he was able to push this back to where it's straight and feed his pipe in and was able to get through his loop here, but I wasn't able to do that. I had to take this off and the first time, and take a hammer and kind of tap the bolts in to get it in the first time, and used a rod to help line it up. So that's kind of difficult, but once you bend it a couple of times, once you've used it once or twice, it'll be much easier to use from there on out, because this bolt will bend just a little bit, give you a little bit of lead room. Now don't panic when you get your bend in here and you realize it's tight at the bottom, but you got a little gap in the front. That's just a relief angle so that you can get your pipe out. You know, when you go to, if it was perfect, man, you'd have a real hard time getting this bolt out. So so what I do when I'm doing this, once my pipe's in there, and let's say I've got my bend in there, then I'll pull my nut off and I'll push down on this, and as soon as it gets loose, I'll pull the bolts out. Then I can slide it out farther, start with my next mark, tighten it up and go with it. So anyway, I hope this helps. Portable pipe bender, really worth the money, and it definitely works good for the roll cage. I'll show you a little bit what I've done with it while I've had it. It's pretty quick, actually. So let me show you. I was going to show you also these tools I got. Well, still learning how to use this gimbal. Anyway, this magnet really comes in handy. It's a big magnet. Little roach clip looking things are for the string line. I've got the 1¼ inch and 1 5/8. This thing works great. And then I've also got a, this really works well. It's a basically a sight, a bore sight for like a gun. This piece here is, put the batteries in it, slip it in this deal here, and then that way when you're lining this up, it will, you've got your laser sticking out the other end. You can go to the point of where you're going to run your piece of pipe and line up that laser with the other point, and it'll get it dead on, man. It really saves you a lot of time for making different angles and coping your tubing and stuff. This gimbal's not the easiest thing to do. Anyway, got the rear end in the 1940. I was going to show you some of this work that I've got done. This thing is just, all right, I'm taking this thing out. It's not the easiest to use. I apologize. Yeah. I'm over that thing. All right. So I'll get it upside down. Let me flip it over. My apologies. I get irritated quickly. So anyway, I'll show you. I've got my main hoop in. See if I go from the other side. It's going pretty quickly, actually. I'm surprised how quickly it's going. Got my door bars in. I just got it tacked up for now. Got some more bars to put in. But yeah, roll cage is coming along, man. I'm excited. But yeah, the affordable bender, I mean, it does the job. And for the money, really can't beat it. I like it. I think it's really, between that and the other tools I've got for building roll cage from Centurial, can't really pronounce that, but man, it makes it go a lot faster than it would without it. And I'm not using a notcher. I'm not really set up to use the notcher. And so I basically just use a grinder with a cutting wheel and a buffing wheel. And you know, with this deal, it makes it really nice. You just get your piece of pipe down. And let me get this out flat. Get your piece of pipe. I left two pins out so I can line that up to get it straight. So for instance, let me show you how I use that. I don't know if I can do this holding it with my leg. For instance, what I'd do is I'd line this up, remember this right here, and slowly work it around so you get good contact with it. And you get some pins here that didn't push in all the way. Oh, they're spreading out. Oh yeah, went too far. Actually, if I had another free hand, what you'd want to do is just slowly push these in with your hand, your finger, and work it around, and then you get your coat. Depending on what angle you're going to set it at. This thing works really well, man. Saves you a lot of time. Anyway, hope this helps. Like I say, these tools from this company right here, you can go to their website, Centurial Incorporated. They've got a really nice kit you can purchase for building the roll cage. It's really helped me, and for the money, this affordable pipe bender, it's working great, man. It works good. Now that I added some braces to the bottom, and figured out that, you know, once that bolt bends a little bit, it makes it easier to get it in and out. And I just pull this piece off when I'm through bending. I pull it off before I bend, and I get it set up. Push this thing back, push that thing back, put this piece on, get it lined up, tighten that down real good, start bending. And when I get ready, I go ahead and loosen that, take the nut off, push down on it, release my jack, push down on it, push it up in there, and pull the bolt out, and you're good to go. Anyway, hope you enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe. Ozark Mountain Garage. And yeah, check out my build. I've got my 1940 hot rod. I'm building a big tire car. Be my first build from the ground up. But yep. All right, guys. Y'all have a good day.